And I'm not bitter for winning to 2014 Q School and not getting the PGA Tour card. I'm not bitter about that, but you're right.
That's right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hole in One Show podcast. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. We've got a special podcast for you today. It is the family episode. Just got back from a family reunion, the Schultz family reunion out in Chincoteague, Virginia. Now, my dad, he passed just over 5 years ago, July 5th, 2018. And as many of you who have had to understand that family reunions sometimes are born out of difficult situations. And we had a lot of family come into Detroit Lakes in 2018, and when Dad passed, and it was great to see everybody, obviously not under those circumstances. And at that time, we started talking about, hey, we got to get the whole family together to get the Schultz family reunion. And then COVID happened. And schedules are what they are. There's many of us who have little kids, and it's not easy to plan a week in the middle of summer to get together. Well, it happened. It happened this past week in August. We all got together in Virginia, and it was absolutely fantastic. A lot of great stories. And the coolest thing about the whole week was all these grandkids now, and all these kids that have meeting for the first time, and just had an absolute ball. Now, one really interesting thing, and I know for those of you who have followed, I guess, my golf career, know that I have a cousin who is a hell of a golfer. He spent time on the PGA Tour. He's a few years older than me. He's got, I go to my own family reunion. I'm the second best golfer at this family reunion. His name is Brad Fritsch. He's Canadian, but he's by way of Raleigh, North Carolina now, and he's got a really interesting background when it comes to professional golf and a really, really cool new endeavor with Red Rooster Golf. So with no further ado, I'd like to continue the family reunion. Brad Fritsch, welcome to the Hole in One Show podcast, buddy.
It's awesome to be here, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, we started talking about this around the pool, I think, about 10:30 at night. I said, hey, you got to be on the pod on Monday. What do you think? And here we are. What was your take of the family reunion? Wasn't it fun?
I had a blast. I tell everyone where we went, and nobody has a clue where it is. It's kind of funny when you think about, like, Chincoteague Island. Where's that? And I say, I drove through Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, and then keep on going. And you're out in the water somewhere, and it was great. It was great. It was great to see everybody. Gosh, like you said, haven't seen you in 5 years. Yeah. Haven't seen, Aunt Suzanne, Aunt Rosemary, everyone, and the cousins even longer. So it was a blast. We had so much fun hanging out with your girls. Good luck in about 10 years. That'll be fun. I have a 14-year-old girl.
You're a freshman in high school. You're entering high school again.
Yeah, no kidding. And I can't imagine what it's going to be like with three of them going through what they go through at that age. So
I don't even
just have fun right now, because it's going to get interesting.
Hair hygiene and weddings. I'm going to start a GoFundMe page right now. It's going to be, God. But it's a blast, and it was a lot of, obviously, so much fun to get together. And you and I, we've seen each other a lot more over the past 15 years, and a lot of our family members have, because we spent 3 years on the nationwide tour together, which is pretty doggone unique. And I in fact think I was so proud that I had an older cousin playing professional golf that I honestly think that you are in my TCU profile. I was like, I got a cousin named Brad Fritsch who's on the Canadian tour. So let's go through your playing background. How old are you? Where are you from? And when your professional golf career started?
So I'm 45 right now. So yes, everyone, 5 years away from the Champions Tour, like everyone asked me. I turned pro. Yeah. I turned pro in 2001. I played at Campbell University in North Carolina, and turned pro in 01, got on the Canadian Tour right away. It was just called the Canadian Tour back then, and played 01 to 06 on the Canadian Tour. Went to Q School every year, got out of first stage most of the time, but the first time I ever got through second stage was 2006. And that got me some status on what was then called the Nationwide Tour. And where was final? Finals was at PGA West, and I was actually in position for a tour card after round 4. It was 6 rounds. They took 30 guys for the PGA Tour. I was in position for a tour card after 4 rounds with an 81 on the scoreboard. Yeah, it was like 71, 81, 60, 763. And
you were cold, then you got really hot. You got cold, then you were hot.
Yeah. Well, it was PGA West Stadium course. It was the worst day of the 6 days, and I just fell apart that day. 81 was obviously horrendous. But then I was in position and then just played okay and got Nationwide Tour status. So I played Nationwide 07. I think at the end of 07, we did our first Q School together, and I think we actually shot the exact same score.
That's right.
So we had the same status for 08, which was just okay.
Yeah. Orange County National. But we both finished 85th out of 170 players or whatnot. And I actually went back and looked at that field the other day. Dustin Johnson was in that field. I mean, there was some. It's weird when you go back to the Q School fields of late 2000s, right? And you see a bunch of names who are some who aren't playing anymore, but some who are obviously had a successful career, and that's where they started.
100%. Do you remember what happened in the first 2 rounds? What the leader shot? And we were like,
Frank Licklider. Did he shoot 10 under each day?
I think he was 61, 62, so 11 and 10.
And he was driving. He rented a Suburban. Maybe it was his Suburban, but I remember him. He drove into the parking lot, Orange County National, with Nickelback Rockstar blaring. Each of the first 2 mornings, every single day, he came into the parking lot with that song blaring. And I'm not going to lie to you. I told my caddy, Ross Hammond, I said, hey, we need to listen to Nickelback Rockstar the last 4 rounds. It didn't work. We finished 85th and he won the thing. But yeah, that's right. He was like 20 under through the first 2 rounds.
And Frank, he plays the part of a badass. He's he plays up his buddies with Navy SEALs and stuff like that. He is the biggest teddy bear in the world once you get to know him.
Oh, really?
But he has those shades on. They call him the Blade because once he pulled a knife on someone and it was really big knife who was messing with him. But I could go down this road for hours. But yeah, he played unbelievable golf that week. That was fun. And you're right, the late 2000s Q School. It's a who's who of who's on tour right now, obviously. Mm-hmm. And that was back when you could actually get a PGA Tour card from Q School, so it was tough going back then. I think we both didn't finish great coming into, so we were also we were pretty bitter golfers at that time.
We had some starts though, and we had some starts the next year. And I spent 8, 9, and 10 out there, and talk about continue your path, because it was interesting. You get to the Nationwide, kind of a step back, and then 1 step back, 2 steps forward. It's a really cool story of perseverance.
Yeah, so 07, 8, 9, I had one you'd call decent year out there out of the 3, and I didn't have any really great finishes, and I got relegated back to the Canadian Tour in 2010 and 2011, which is where I played what I thought was amazing golf. I played awesome.
Yeah,
and it's funny, at the end of 10. I missed at first stage, and it was just one of those, I just didn't play very good. And I think I told my dad, he spotted me some money going into 11. And I'm like, Dad, I got so much better this year. I played really well. Just the 1 week killed me at Q School. So
really good perspective. That's not easy, because when I went back to Q School in 2010 and I lost my card, I leaned on that Q School and I didn't play well. It was like the world was ending. I was like, I'm not good enough. It's, I had a chance to make the PGA Tour. It didn't happen. And I, quite frankly, I took it really hard. Whereas you're sharing that you're just like, well, it's one bad week. Hey, I need some cash to start next year. I'm going to go rip it up again. That's not easy to do.
It's really not. And fortunately, I played a really nice schedule in 11. I played Canadian Tour, and then we had in North Carolina what was called the eGolf Tour back then. And we were getting, it's unique in mini tour terms now, but we were getting 220 players a week, 2 golf courses, $40,000 was for first place. You don't see it anywhere anymore.
No, you don't.
And I had a bunch of good finishes out there too. So I made some pretty decent cash in 11, went to Q School, played well enough to get, which was now the Web.com Tour. Got on the Web.com Tour in 2012 and just played solid the entire year in 12 and got on the PGA Tour in 13. So I think my kind of holistic perspective in 2010 was I'm getting better for sure. And definitely the experiences of failing in 7, 8, 9. And I use failing in a broad sense because I had some okay finishes. It didn't play great, but you're playing against better competition, better golf courses than you are on mini tours and in Canada. So definitely learning a lot.
And now you spend 2 years back in the Canadian Tour. You're playing well. eGolf Tour, you're playing well. And you got to be just thinking through those 2 years. If I just get my shot, back at the web.com is what it was called. If I get my shot, I'm going to take this and grab the bull by the horns. And that's exactly what you did. You pretty much skipped right off the web.com tour onto the PGA Tour in 2013.
I did, and I don't think it was a coincidence that I met my future caddy kind of midway through 2012.
Okay.
You can see on TV they play up the caddy player relationship sometimes, and then sometimes they downplay it. Well, this one, it was a case of I found like my ideal match, and it was actually an old friend back from Ottawa where I grew up. Yeah. And we meshed. His wife thought it was a 2-week, just a 2-week vacation in Georgia. Basically, we played Athens and Valdosta, I think. And it turned into the next 4.5 years of my life and his life too. So it was awesome. He's a best green reader I've ever met in my life. And we formed a great partnership in 2012, and it was probably the best I've ever putted too. Mm-hmm. I'm a fairly good ball striker, kind of day in, day out. I've always struggled with putting, and I putted really well, especially towards the end of that year. And he was a big part of it. So I came down the last couple of events and needed some decent finishes. I think the last event of the regular season, I finished 10th in Jacksonville, and then went to the Tour Championship and finished 9th. Nice. And got my tour card. I think I finished 18th overall for the year, and that's when they took 25 for the for tour cards.
Well, I wouldn't know. Close, but I wouldn't know. What is that feeling when you've realized that you've made the PGA Tour?
Well, from behind the stage where they were introducing the PGA Tour card holders, I got on Twitter, now known as X, and I said, holy shit, I'm getting onto the PGA Tour. And then I got a call from the 904 area code 2 days later, and they're like, can you take that down, please? Whenever you get a call from 904, it's Ponte Vedra, Florida, and you're like, oh God, what did I do? What did I do?
Oh, that's good.
It's an amazing feeling, and it kind of makes you look back on all the stuff that you either had to go through, what you did wrong, and especially the stuff that you did right.
Well, and I mean, if you're just on an ascending the whole time, you're right out of school and you make the PGA Tour 25, 26, you haven't really experienced any setbacks or failures, and you experienced that, and now you're sitting there at the end of, at the beginning of 2013 with a full PGA Tour card. Take us through your rookie year.
So I'm 35, getting on the PGA Tour as a rookie. And this was the year before they were going to do the wraparound schedule. Okay. And so we had from January to September, and that was the condensed schedule. And then October of the same year, so October of 2013 was going to be the 2014 schedule, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So it was short. I got off to an amazing start. I finished 40th in Hawaii, 50th in Palm Springs, and then I've had a top 10 at Torrey Pines. So all of a sudden, I'm pretty high up in the reshuffle for the Web.com Tour graduates, and I'm getting into bigger tournaments. Like, I top 10'd into Phoenix. Yeah. I'm getting into Honda. I'm getting into Tampa. I'm getting into Bay Hill. So
now, hold on a second. Now at Torrey, is this your rookie year? Your third event?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And third or fourth event.
Third or fourth event. And you had an interesting pairing, didn't you?
It wasn't a pairing. Everyone asked me this. It's funny. So Torrey, after 2 rounds, I was, I think, 8 under. It was a funny story about Friday. So Friday was awful weather. It rained on and off. It's just miserable. And I played the South Course, and I shot 5 under.
Nice.
With no bogeys. I get in the locker room, and at Torrey Pines, the locker room is very small. It's actually just an appropriated dining room, and they have mini lockers. It's not much of a PGA Tour locker room. But walking through, and Charles Howell says, "Hey man, great playing. That's awesome." And Robert Garrigus turned around and he goes, "What'd you shoot?" And I said, 5 under on the South Course. He said, "How?" Because it was that hard. It was kind of funny. So I'm in the second last group. Tiger's in the lead group for the day. We go out Saturday, and we have no golf on Saturday. The fog rolled in and out and in all day.
Okay.
And there was no golf played. I think one group played one hole. So on Sunday we go out and they just say, you're going to play as much golf as you can today. We're not going to repair. So I played in front of Tiger for 28 holes or 26 holes on Sunday. And then they took us out on Monday and we finished, I think I started on number 8. And so we played the remaining 11 holes on Monday. So I played in front of Tiger for 36 holes over 2 days. Not the most fun experience because everyone's there to watch him.
Sure.
And so they're kind of running up on you the whole time. It's a little bit, it's just distracting is what it is.
That's what they say is the group in front of Tiger back in the, or any day now that he plays. I mean, that's the most difficult group to play in from a distraction perspective.
100%. And it's just because the mob of people is kind of running up to see his shot come in, and you're in that group that they're running up on. But I played pretty well in round 3 throughout the whole day, and I think I was in second place going into the Monday finish. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget we get in these vans and we drive out to the 8th hole, and it's a par 3, a little short hole, like 160 yards, and we're driving down the cart path, and there's so many people that the side mirrors on the van are hitting people as we're driving down because people aren't getting out of the way, and people are yelling and cursing. And of course, they're all there to watch Tiger, right? And I have to hit first. There's got to be 20,000 people on a 160-yard par 3. I am crapping my pants. And I like to say I close my eyes and hit
in second place. Shot. That's great. But Monday finish, you're in second place. You have 10 holes left to play. You have 20,000 people around you, and you're just shaking. You close your eyes and swing.
100%. That's exactly what happened. Didn't play great that Monday. I think I finished birdie to finish 9th, which was a good. I mean, it was just nice to finish that way.
Yeah.
And then got into Phoenix the next week, which was the only time I played Phoenix, and it was that's a different. Yeah, it's just bonkers. It is. It's a crazy event.
So that was your first year on tour, a hot start. How many total years on tour? You made 38 cuts on the PGA Tour. Is that correct?
Something like that, give or take. I don't know if they count the ones that you qualify for the U.S. Open and make the cut, but it's not during a PGA Tour year.
Count it.
No, I certainly count it. Yes,
for sure.
But the first year I made 19 out of 25 cuts.
That is hot. That is good golf.
But the weekends, if I learned anything, was that I tried way too hard to shoot a low number on the weekends. And I look back and I think if I had shot 71s or 70s or even 72s on weekends, I would have kept my card easily, and I didn't.
Sure. So you lost your card first year?
Lost my card the first year and went back to the web.com final 4 events.
Okay.
And I go miscut, second. And I got my card back. I got my card back. So
it's incredible the ups and downs and the last minute sort of qualifiers or the last minute high finishes that can. I mean, you're only as good as your last tournament, and you really, unless you win on the PGA Tour, you really only get anything for a year. So every year is your contract year, and if you're not at the highest level, if you don't have endorsement deals or you don't have guaranteed paychecks, I mean, you're essentially at the mini tour level. You're paying to go to work. You're paying to chase this dream. Obviously, you're believing yourself and you're doing something you're passionate about, but it is not a great business model until you get there.
Until you get there, you're absolutely right. And you know plenty about that in your early years. You just rely on yourself. You rely on the belief in your talent, your ability. And what I did was lean on people who believed in me the most. And that was my family, my swing coach, and who eventually became my caddy, or the guy who eventually became my caddy. And those were kind of the chief factors in me getting as far as I did. And I'll tell anyone, I can't believe I made it as far as I did, because what's going on in this head during a round of golf, especially at the highest levels, you wouldn't even want to know about it. Like it's not, well, it's not anything anyone wants to hear.
Well, you can still ball. In fact, you just played in a Canadian Tour event a couple weeks ago. You were inducted into the Ottawa Golf Hall of Fame. You're the most famous golfer ever to come out of the city of Ottawa, correct?
Well, I'm the only player to get to the PGA Tour, but Brooke Henderson grew up about a half hour out of the city.
Okay.
So I'm gonna cede that title to her. No problem. No questions asked.
All right.
She does okay for herself, but I am the only male player ever to get to the PGA Tour, so I take
that's awesome.
A big amount of pride in that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, like I said, you still have a lot of game. What's the plan? I mean, 45. You've always been a long hitter, and that we're talking about now. You have to be able to hit it 320 off the tee to compete. You can do that. What's the plan going forward? As we talked about this past week, you haven't missed a Q school. You've gone every single year, other than the COVID year where they didn't have it, and you're on the fence to go to Q school this coming year. So what's going forward for you? How often are you practicing? I think you should go to Q school. Have you made a decision in the last 2 days?
How often am I practicing? Never. That's the thing that holds me back from making that decision right now. I just don't practice with the new business. I play a little bit once a week, maybe. Mm-hmm. I could still play. It's the hard shots that get me. Like if there's a 3-wood over water, I just shouldn't attempt it. I should just lay up and wedge it on. Yeah, it's the hard shots that hurt me the most, and just I'm not consistent enough to try those on a regular basis, especially in competition. That's the big thing. That's when your worst comes out, is when you're stressed to the max, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very comfortable playing in competition. I know what my limits are, especially now. You mentioned the Canadian Tour event. I shot 72-70. That was even par. The cut was 2 under. I thought I played okay. I putted really poorly for about 27 holes, and that's always the thing, like I mentioned, that holds me back. So to get me to Q school, I'd have to start really, digging in and really preparing. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to, but we've talked about this a couple times. The carrot is they've now reintroduced the PGA Tour card.
Yes.
So
thank you. Thanks for not having that in our prime. Appreciate that, for not having it for the last 10, 12 years. Yeah, there's a carrot out there now. So obviously it's a gauntlet to get through Q school. I think you said you're going to, if you went back to Q school, you go back to first stage. But if you do get to finals and you finish in the top 5, hey, you're in the show. You're in the show for many years now. It's just been you're getting to the Corn Ferry Tour, which is still great. But, to really have that carrot out there, it used to be 30. When you said you first went to Q school, then it was 25 when I got there, and for many years it was nothing, and now it's back to 5. So there is that carrot out there.
And I'm not bitter for winning to 2014 Q school and not getting a PGA Tour card. I'm not bitter about that, but you're right.
That's right. He wins. Yeah. Yes, Brad won final stage of Q school. Bury the lead, man. Won final stage of Q school in 2014, and it was in one of the years, in that group of years, that there was no cards to the PGA Tour. But that's quite an impressive feat to be able to win final stage of Q school.
It was bizarre, man. We played at PGA National, which is the Honda Classic golf course, the Bear Trap, and it was 6 rounds again, and you played 3 rounds there and 3 rounds at, I think, the Fazio course at PGA National. And the Fazio course, I didn't play great. I think I was 9 under for 3 rounds. It was pretty easy. And the Bear Trap course, I was 18 under for 3 rounds. I won by 7. I've never putted like that in my life. If I could find the putter from that week,
it's in there.
I would use it.
It's in there.
I don't know where it is. It's
what?
It's in that garage where there's a lot of stuff in there.
Okay, well, I would start digging right now. You got a month until Q school. You got like 3 weeks until sign up. I would find that putter and go. Because if you putt, that's the equalizer. I don't care. I mean, if you can putt, you can putt.
Yeah, it was an amazing week. And it's so funny, juxtapose that course in December when it was perfect weather. It was 80 degrees every day, to April when it's miserable there, windy. What course I was playing was not the one that they play in April at the Honda. It was just completely different.
Wow.
But yeah, like I said, they didn't have a tour card, so I got my fully exempt web.com card, and that was fine.
Well, speaking of preparation, we really, other than talking about it, we didn't really prepare this past week. I think we both had a record caloric intake at the family reunion. We were having a lot of fun. I think we're in the middle of fasting right now just to be able to make a turn on a golf ball. Hey, I know you're asked this a lot because 5 years, it's going to go quick. Are there senior tour aspirations?
I would say it interests me quite a bit. The only thing that kind of concerns me is that I question how competitive I'll remain in the next couple of years. Okay. And the guys who kind of come from my background, a Scott Perrell, a Steve Alker, those guys played it when they were 48, 49. They were playing competitive golf, whether it was the Korn Ferry Tour, Web.com Tour, whichever tour they were playing. They were members. They played every week up until they were 50. And so I don't have those. I can't, no crystal ball. Can't tell you if I'll be playing 48, 49 years old, week in, week out. But those are the kind of guys who are kind of have the similar record as I do, and couldn't walk straight onto the Champions Tour. They had to qualify. Yeah. And
you got to get out there and grind. You got to grind going into it, right?
Yes. Yeah. I can't.
Kind of like your 10 and 11 Canadian Tour year. You had to grind there to be ready for for your second chance of the Web.com.
Right. There was not taking 3 years off and then expecting to walk onto the Web.com or PGA Tour, right? There was, you had to go and play. And so what I'm doing now takes a lot of time. And so I'm not putting the time into golf. So maybe I will in the next couple of years. I'm not sure, but it's going to take a ton of effort and some luck, obviously, because Champions Tour Q School is about the hardest tour to get onto, right? 5 cards, and there's 1,000 people trying, and there's guys turning 50 every day who are legendary players, right?
Sure.
We'll see.
Speaking of your new endeavor, we're going to take a quick break and get back and talk a little Red Rooster Golf with its co-owner, Brad Fritsch. We'll be right back after this.
Any bank can tell you they have a rock-solid commitment to agriculture. Bell can prove it. To this day, every Bell Bank branch is partially built with rocks we've picked from our founder's farm. But our roots in ag have grown more than a few offices. They've shaped who we are and formed our entire approach to banking. Let us prove it to you as you grow your farm and prepare your legacy for the next generation. Bell Bank, committed to ag.
Golf to me is patience.
It's weird to say, but golf is life.
It is. It's the ultimate game of life.
It's an individual sport.
You have to put in a lot of work to get minimally better. That's kind of the beauty of it. You come back to improve.
That's why I love golf, is just every shot is different.
That next round, that next shot, it could be that start of a story.
I don't even want to say a game. It's more than a game.
Kind of annoyed me, like, you think they just give out PGA Tour cards? Like, what do you what's going on here?
No, but you passed the devil's pulpit.
I guess.
Yeah. Welcome back, everybody, to the Hole in One Show podcast. Welcome you back into the family affair here on the pod. Brad Fritsch, cousin. Now, this is not like some distant cousin. Brad and I, Brad's mom and my dad, brother, sister. And like I mentioned, lost dad just over 5 years ago, but it was great to see your mom, Brad, and the sister act, as we call them, all of Dad's sisters. And I think they had more fun than anybody, I think.
I think they always do when they get together. They're a funny bunch, and they laugh similarly. My kids will say that. You can't tell if you left the room and heard all of them laughing, they all laugh exactly the same. Yeah. Their sense of humors are very similar. It's fun to watch.
Yeah. And one thing Suzanne, my dad's older sister, mentioned, she goes, there's a couple times this week I just closed my eyes and I heard your dad. And that's pretty cool. I mean, that's what these family reunions are all about. And sister act, that was fun. Now, your mom, hey, your dad was giving me the whole rundown of your mom's golf game. They still play 3 or 4 days a week. Your mom's in her upper 70s, and he said he'd put her up against anybody 60 yards and in. Is your mom's short game that prolific?
I've never seen someone hit a full lob wedge 30 yards, but that's what she does. Like, it goes up in the air too. It's not a chip.
Yeah.
But her iron distances, the separation is like 8 yards. It's very it's not technical. It's just a function of age and how slow she swings it. But she's very straight. She putts it well. And if she could find a tee block to go up to, I think her handicap would be even better than it is. I think she's like an 18.
That's great.
But she can't reach, par 4s and 5s in regulation. And sometimes she can't reach them in 4 shots. So she's a great player for her age, how far she hits it.
Yeah.
It's quite something to watch her hit a full swing wedge though from so close. I get uncomfortable a little bit if I did that. You'd see the ball sailing. Yep.
Well, the cool thing is your dad was saying that they've got date Sundays. They play golf every Sunday. That is neat. That is the game. That is the game that we love, and that is special stuff.
It is, and it's funny because based on who I talk to, if I talk to them that day or the day after, I'll get a report of how it went. Mm-hmm. And my dad will say it was a great time, and my mom will say he just thinks too much. I don't know what he's thinking when he's chipping. Like it's it's really funny. Yeah.
That is the greatest. Now let's switch gears a little bit. PGA Tour. Hey, we got a guy out there winning back-to-back tournaments. He's given us hope. He's 43 years old. Lucas Glover. I mean, this guy's on a roll. What do you think? What do you take from the last couple of weeks on the PGA Tour?
So I remember him at first stage at Q School in North Carolina, and this had to be 01, 02. He was coming out of Clemson. I knew his name. And what they said last week about him flushing it, and if you close your eyes and you don't know who's hitting it, his ball sounds the best. It sounded the best back then too. It just smokes it. Sounds so good. It's always been about putting for him, right? Mm-hmm. So I've seen some old videos on X that we call it now, the last couple days about how he struggled with his putting, and they show some of the strokes, and it's like delete. You never want to see that. Yeah. And now you see long putter strokes, and it looks great. He's found something, man, and to go back to back, especially this week against the field at the St. Jude. Amazing. Right. And
now, he's been working, I don't know if he still is, but I know for a time there he was working with Ward Jarvis, and we talked about Ward this past week. I had I'll just say it. I had the driver yips. That gave me the insight. Like, hey, probably pro golf's not going to work anymore. Is I would get to the ball and it would come full stop. I would tear my right oblique and the ball would go to the next county to the right. And I'm like, I just want to kind of enjoy this game and go, be able to play with my kids someday. And I can't do it if I have the driver yips. And so I watched a guy, and you know him really well too, Brendan Todd. He went through a lot of struggles in professional golf for many years. Missed, I don't think, a year of cuts. And he started working with Ward, who had caddied for him one time before. And Ward has an interesting story. I'd love to get him on the pod. In fact, I'm going to here pretty soon. And this guy is doing wonders. And I know he's been working with, he got Brendan out of the issue he was working with or going through, and Brendan's won a couple times and is now having, again, a prolific career on the PGA Tour. And I think Ward was working with Lucas Glover, I do believe, on the green. And it's just amazing how mental this game is. You said the things that you're going through your head when you're playing golf. And I'm going to keep going and say that Padraig Harrington was interviewed while he was playing the U.S. Senior Open, or the British Open last week, and really talked about when you get to a certain level, everybody has the same ability. It's all between the ears. It's all about how you can handle the mental game. I guess touch on that a little bit with yourself, but also, Lucas, he's obviously putting well and working with Ward.
Yeah, and I largely agree with what Padraig Harrington said. I did see him. I actually think I saw the interview live, and he's, to an extent, he's right. Everyone has their good weeks and their bad weeks, but someone who is playing really well versus someone else who's playing really well, the mental game does distinguish who's going to play the best or score the best that week. And it might just come down to a single shot, the confidence you have to pull a shot off, the mental toughness to maybe not take something on and to accept, don't compound a bad shot, don't follow it with a dumb one. Stuff like that can really determine the difference between winning and losing. And in pro golf, it's so hard to accept second place as losing, but we're into a time in the sports world when someone can finish second and you can call them the first loser, which is really unfortunate, because if you were the first loser last week, you beat 68 players, out of 70. It's really unfair, but it's the world we live in. And one shot, they're going to kind of break down and tell you why that shot didn't go your way. So again, it's the ability to kind of to perform in those high pressure situations, sometimes back off, sometimes go, absolutely go for it. Yeah. And then sometimes you just bury something that you totally didn't expect to. And I think Lucas made about a 20-footer on 17 for par, I think it was. And, if you break down the percentages, that's a 15 to 20% make rate. And he just had the confidence to roll it in, and he read it perfectly, struck it perfectly. It just was a perfect storm for him, and it has been the last 2 weeks. It's pretty amazing. Because this guy was 114th 2 weeks ago, got into the top 70, and now he's potentially looking at a Ryder Cup spot after.
It's incredible.
About 2 months ago, he's probably thinking about, man, I'm going to lose my entire PGA Tour card here.
Yeah, and it's interesting in professional golf, your peak playing years are actually probably after your peak physical ability. And so you're past your peak physical ability, but you've gotten there mentally. You know when to take things on, you know when not to, and you're more mature around the golf course in a tournament.
Yeah, I think 10 years ago, that would be absolutely the case, 100% of the time. I think the game now is changing a little bit, because as you said before, you have to be able to hit at a certain distance. If you can't, you really have no chance. And that's kind of something that I look at right now when you talk about me trying to compete. I'm long for the amateur golfer. I can still carry it about 280, 285. If I had a driving average, it would probably be 300 yards. But that's just about average now on the PGA Tour.
Sure.
So that's the kind of thing where there's another level of athlete out there right now. There's another level of speed, and it's really impressive. It's impressive to watch sometimes, but it makes me wonder about the state of the game when it tends to be all about speed now. And it's like, what if they, come to a course where, it's a, Hogan's Alley type thing. What are guys going to do?
Yeah.
But anyways, that's just the state of the game right now. And getting back to Lucas Glover, he still kills the ball. So he's not worried. Yeah.
Well, and on that point, the kids, they've grown up on TrackMans. They've had all of the best information at their fingertips on every swing, not just maybe once a week like we did back in the day when we had a professional put his eyes on our golf swing and the ball flight. Like literally getting feedback right away on what swing, what movement is producing the least amount of spin with the highest launch. And, I don't take anything away from these guys who are in college who are playing great golf and they can bomb it. But we had a little match with NDSU guys last year, and all these guys are hitting it high and 330, and it's just a different game. Now, those guys are also hitting full sand wedges from 110, and they're not getting to a back flag because they're landing it at the flag, ripping it off the front. So you have to be able to have both games. You got to be able to, hit certain windows with a wedge, with dead-handed 3-fingered wedge to get it to the back and hit different shots. But the bottom line is you can mask a lot of things that you need to get better at if you're hitting it that far. You know what I mean?
I totally agree with you. The stats will say the closer you are to the green, the lower your score is going to be. Yeah. So that's why guys are taking driver out on most holes, ripping it. For the most part, doesn't matter where they hit it. They'll hit 50% probably of fairways, and they'll be okay. Yeah. So I think course design comes into a lot of this. I think we're kind of going the wrong way with course design, opening everything up. That just kind of plays into the modern idea of smashing it as far as you can. But anyways, philosophically wise, that's how I feel.
Sure.
But there is the one thing that I always come back to is Bryson DeChambeau kind of started this, right? Of guys ripping it, the guy who could take his speed to the max. And the most impressive thing that I thought he ever did, what didn't have anything to do with US Open winning or anything like that, it was getting to the Remax long drive and finishing the top 8. I thought that was
incredible.
Unbelievable. Yes. Like, these guys do it for a living. They're out there week after week. They specifically train for this, and he's playing PGA Tour at the time, and he goes, I think I'll try and the Remax long drive, and he finishes top 8. I thought that was amazing. And I'm not a guy who, I don't like him very much on a professional level, but that was super impressive. And so I think there's just, you see guys who swing on the PGA Tour 125, 130. It's amazing. I can't believe they have any degree of control with their driver with that speed, because I'm at 110 now, and I drive it about as straight as I've ever driven it, which says a lot about technology. But another 15 miles per hour, I don't know where that thing would be going.
Okay, so with that said, with the game kind of getting out ahead of the headlights here, and course design catering to the big hitter. What are your thoughts on the ball rollback or the uniform ball for the professional game? I kind of like it.
I think it's a tough thing to sell to guys like me who believe that the best thing about golf is that I could go tee it up with any guy who has an insurance job or whatever, and we're playing to a degree the same equipment, and I have a handicap and he has a handicap, and we can go play against each other.
Sure.
And I think you lose a lot when I would go and I have a different ball. I'm being technically limited with how far I can hit it. I do think that it's a tough sell on the amateur side to roll the ball back because people enjoy hitting it far. The game should be about having fun and getting the most out of your game that you could possibly get. And to kind of roll that back now and to have people accept, okay, you're going to hit it 15 yards shorter, but trust me, it's for the good of the game. You're not going to be able to sell that. So it's really tough for me to think about this issue and think that there's an ideal solution. I do like the professional game if you're looking at it solely from a pro point of view.
Yes.
To get the ball to go shorter. I really do think they could minimize or make the driver head smaller.
Okay.
And that would do a lot, I think, in terms of being able to have to hit the middle of the face and making it harder for guys who swing faster to control the ball. So it's a tough thing for me to articulate. I don't know if I'm doing a good job of it, but I do think
you kind of like the driver rollback rather than the ball rollback on the professional level.
I do. I think that it's garbage for a guy like, so Bryson came out after he won at Greenbrier and he said, man, I love this club. It doesn't matter where I hit it on the club face. That, to me, that sucks. And good for him for finding it and shooting 61.58. I've played that golf course. I never approached those scores. Those are amazing scores.
Yeah.
But for a club to be able to do that, it reminds me of the home improvement episode where the guy never swung. He just held the club and he jerry-rigged it so that the ball just took off and it went dead straight. Like, is that what we're doing now? It doesn't matter where you hit it on the face. It's it's a big issue for me.
It's got to be something with sustainability for golf, right? I mean,
absolutely.
That's a lot of acres. It's not easy to build a golf course and water the thing and be able to have it to a point where it can be played by the amateurs, but also the pros. Because even though the pro event's only there once a week, you got to water that tee box, you got to water that fair, you got to do all that stuff year round.
Yeah, and I always have a tough time reconciling the fact that then the pros and the AMs aren't playing the same equipment and won't be able to compare them apples to apples, which I think is the absolute beauty of the game. Like, I know a bunch of people who, after the Canadian Open, played Oakdale Country Club this past year. You know, Nick Taylor, 72-foot putt, Canadian wins the Canadian Open, amazing. I know a bunch of guys who went there and played the next day, same pins, same green speeds, same tees, and they had Nick's drives on every hole marked.
Oh, cool.
You know, they could compare exactly how he played the golf course.
Yeah.
We could never get on a court and play with Roger Federer or Nadal. We could never, get in an NHL game to play against Gretzky or whoever. But we can play the same game as the PGA Tour players can on the same field with the same equipment, give or take. I know there's, little things that are done with pro equipment, but I just think it's an amazing part of golf. And I would not like to see that end.
Really well put. Really well put. So speaking of a new endeavor and things that they're not going to end. Your pro career is not ending, but you've got a new career here, Red Rooster Golf. Let's talk about this. Folks, go to redroostergolf.com, get your credit card out, and Brad's going to tell you all about it here.
So Red Rooster was a company that a buddy of mine up in Ottawa founded. His name is Kerry Moher. We played junior and amateur golf together. Kerry went to Kentucky State University. Interesting story because it's a historically black college, and yet the entire golf team was white. They would go to the HBCU golf championships, get funny looks. Very interesting story.
Right.
But he came back. He's an entrepreneur. He owns a number of businesses, and the story kind of starts. I was on my way to, it was during COVID. I was on my way to the Workday championship Monday qualifier. So if you recall, they had back-to-back events at Muirfield. One was the Memorial. Mm-hmm. The week before, they had the Workday Championship. I went and tried to Monday. And, for those kids who are thinking about a career in golf, stay in school. I shot 8 under par.
Oh, no.
And signed my card and drove 7.5 hours home.
No.
No. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They only had 2 spots that year. If they had 4, it would have been fine. I would have been in, but they had 2 because of the COVID year. Mm-hmm. They wanted more members to get in more events. Totally get it.
Okay.
So that's what happened. There was a 10, there was a 9 on the screen when I signed my card. I'm like, okay, good plan. I'll enter that into my handicap and go home.
Have a nice day.
So, yeah. So on the way home, Kerry calls me and he kind of just starts asking me about golf gloves. And I'm thinking, where is this going? I don't think about gloves. I get them from Titleist FootJoy. I don't really have any thoughts about golf gloves. I've used the same one for 6 years. Mm-hmm. And so I asked him, where's this going? And he just said, what do you think about a golf glove company that had a few different aspects of it that are different from current golf companies? I said, okay, well, what are you talking about? And so we started talking about a golf glove subscription. He started talking about a golf glove that would be competitive in the marketplace, delivered to someone's door. And when you buy one, you give one to Junior Golf. And I'm thinking,
oh, cool.
Not bad. Yeah. Pretty like an interesting concept. There were a bunch of companies who I thought of right away who do that outside of golf. I think it was Bombas Socks does that. For razors, there's a razor subscription service, and he loves Harry's razors or Dollar Shave Club. Sorry, he likes Dollar Shave Club. Yeah, and he takes a lot of their ideas and makes them his own. So I get back and we start really talking about it, and he said, "Well, if I can make a really great glove, would you come on board?" And I said, "Sure, absolutely." I'm not doing much right now. We're in COVID. I don't know where my golf career is going. I haven't played a full season in 2 years. Let's see what happens. So he says, all right, I'm going over to Indonesia to meet with a whole bunch of golf glove manufacturers. And I say, why Indonesia? And then I do some research, and basically not every golf glove, 90% of golf gloves are made in Indonesia. They have access to great leather. They are expert seamstresses or sewing. They know how to sew really well, and they have great tariff arrangements in that leather goods manufacturing, where they import to different countries at a very favorable tariff rate. So he goes over there. He has some great stories about it. I think he showed up at the gate 3 different times with appointments before they actually let him in. Like the first appointment was, yes, we know you, Mr. Carey, you have an appointment. We're full. And they turn him away, and he's like, did I just fly around the world for nothing?
Yeah.
But he finally got in there. We found a great manufacturer. We did a Kickstarter campaign, it's not a GoFundMe. It's more of a, here's a product at a reduced rate. We put it out on the internet and we raised a bunch of money. I think it was about $100,000 in 30 days. Wow. We sent 1,000 people golf gloves, whether it was a 1, a 3, or a 6-pack. I think that's how we started out. That was the summer of 2021. Now, this whole thing started during COVID, which was a fantastic idea. Shipping lanes are clogged.
Sure.
Ships are full. Workforces are working kind of 50% because they don't want the entire workforce to get sick over there. It was a battle because in the very beginning we could get gloves in 60 days, and at one point we were waiting 15 months for an order. Ooh. So it was brutal, but we persevered. So we're 2.5 years in.
Okay.
We have a whole bunch of styles of gloves. They're really good. I had never heard of a company called My Golf Spy, but since I've been introduced to them, I've understood how impactful they can be. Last year, we were voted the number 1 performance glove that they rated, and there were like 45 of them.
Big.
So
that's big.
Massive. So that's our Cape glove. It looks kind of like a FootJoy Cyflex, if I'm being honest.
Yep, I see it right here.
And that's the glove I wore actually on tour. So My Golf Spy rated us number 1 and number 2 performance golf gloves last year. And that kind of it was kind of a recognition in the golf marketplace that these gloves are really good.
Yeah.
What we kind of put our stock in our gloves. They're a little bit thicker than a normal glove that you buy, which means they're going to last you a little bit longer.
Sure.
And for the most part, you're not going to notice the difference in thickness.
Yeah.
I mean, it's degrees, right? It's millimeters, whatever you want to call it. It's very small. But I always just tell people, try it out. They're really good gloves. You won't be disappointed. They last a little bit longer than you're used to. And now we've come out with a premium glove. We have all these accessories that we've dived into. We've got glove cases. We're coming out with a leather glove wallet, which will debut at the Fargo member guest next year. Oh, did I say that?
I love it. Let's go. Let's go.
But it has been a really interesting adventure going from on the golf course to selling golf gloves behind a desk, fulfilling orders, shipping them out. I've learned a ton about business, about how, people like to spend their money, where orders come from, how digital advertising works, just the whole gamut. And I don't understand all of it, but it's been a great 2.5 years, and we're just getting started.
RedRoosterGolf.com, just getting started, he said, but obviously My Golf Spy, that was a big endorsement, and we have guys, avid golfers come in the shop every day. They'll buy a glove every round. They'll sweat midsummer. Just about. Oh, wow. I mean, they're ripping gloves, or it's really humid out. They'll sweat through the whole thing in one day. They're starting to wear wristbands in front of their glove. So if you have a little bit of a thicker glove, or get on a subscription, have these golf gloves show up to your door. Guys go through gloves, and gals go through gloves a lot quicker than you think.
I say that with surprise when you said every round, but I have guys who buy 3 a month, 4 a month, and who knows, they could play 7 days a week, 27 holes a day. I have no idea. And they might be in Florida where the temperatures are god awful and the humidity gets to you and you sweat through a glove. But it's an interesting business because, it's replenishable, right? You're not selling them a driver that they're going to keep. Yeah, you're not going to sell them a driver that they're going to keep for 2 years. You're going to sell them a glove, which hopefully they buy once a month or once every 2 months or whatever it is, whatever the case may be. I should point out that we have one-time purchases as well. We don't limit it to just a subscription.
Sure.
And I think if I'm being honest, 85% of our purchases are one-time purchase.
Okay. Well, they're just trying out before their subscription. That's what those are. By the way, I need to get on that mailing list. Can I get some? I need some gloves, right? Well, keep it in the family. I need some gloves.
Hey, we'd be happy to send you some, Dave, on the house. There's no problem there.
This is good stuff. Well, RedRoosterGolf.com. Check out men's gloves, women's gloves, kids' gloves, accessories. Gets you some gift cards and even a starter kit. And this golf course, go to this website. Talk about this golf course real quick here at the end of this deal. Talk about this golf course that you filmed this. Look at that place. Yeah. Look at that place. RedRoosterGolf.com.
It's called Devil's Pulpit. There's 2 golf courses up in Caledon, Ontario, which is a little bit north of Toronto. Devil's Pulpit and Devil's Paintbrush. I've only played Devil's Paintbrush holes 1 to 18. I played it once. I shot 63. And I'll tell you a funny story. This legendary golf writer is a member there. His name is Lauren Rubenstein. And he wrote about it the next day because I guess the guys in the shop told him that I'd shot 63. Now, this was in the middle of 2013, so I'm on the PGA Tour. And he writes on, I can't remember if it was Twitter or if he wrote an article, and he included just a little blurb in it about it. But he goes, I came into the Paintbrush Pro Shop the other day, and they said that Brad Fritsch was out here, and he shot 63. Boy, he can really play. And I said to myself and a couple other guys, it kind of annoyed me, like, you think they just give out PGA Tour cards? Like, what's going on here?
No, but you passed the Devil's Pulpit.
I guess. But the Paintbrush is kind of a linksy style course. Got a really great par 3, probably one of the hardest in Canada. And then Devil's Pulpit is what you're seeing.
Sure.
That's the 10th tee. It might be the highest point in the Toronto area, and you can see the CN Tower from there. And we got there at 5:30 in the morning just to make sure that we captured the sunrise. Mm-hmm. It was an awesome day. We filmed a bunch there. We filmed kind of a, like, not an infomercial, but we filmed kind of our aspirational video there, I guess you could call it.
Yep.
And it was awesome. It looked amazing. I wish I could have played, holes 1 to 18, but we didn't.
Yeah.
But it's a heck of a golf course from what I could tell.
Well, Brad, best of luck with Red Rooster Golf. This is really cool endeavor that 2.5 years in, PGA show, thinking to have a booth this coming January. We'll see you there. And hey, keep us updated on the decision for Q School. I'd love to see you tee it up and compete. Catch you a hot putter and just go. Just go. I know it's in there. I know the drive is in there. I know the want is in there. So hey, we'll follow you along. Obviously, check in with me and we'll share with all our viewers if you're going to play or not. And then when you do, we're going to follow you very closely through Q School.
I think the key could be, so about a month ago, I ordered a putter from my old Scotty Cameron tour rep, and I said, Brad, his name's Brad. I said, Brad, can you get me the exact opposite of what I'm using right now? So I typically use like a Newport style, and he's like, okay, opposite. So I'm going to go with face balanced, lots of room in the back, mallet style. Let's put some extra weights in the back, like all just complete opposite.
The thing is going to swing itself. The thing is going to swing itself.
I got some kind of a Phantom, like 11.5 Tour Proto or something. I don't even know what it's called.
Just a weapon.
I've used it a couple times, and I tell you, it does feel different stroking those really short putts.
Yeah.
There's so much weight behind it, and there's so much, I don't know, the MOI it's great.
It's easier. Really so, it's just back and through. You don't have to think about it. Your hands can't get in the way, especially if you're used to a lighter putter. It's back and through. I went Scotty Cameron for years and years. I switched to a heavier PXG putter, and it's not just because I'm wearing a PXG. It is so much easier 3 feet and in. It's almost just, you can just go up there one-legged and just go back and through. It's a piece of cake.
It's putting is an amazing enterprise. It really is. You see guys who are hot for years like Spieth, and then all of a sudden he can't make a 4-footer. I've never had that problem. It's the 8 to 10 to 12 footers that I just don't make enough of. And when you hit it really well, you have plenty of those, and not seeing those go in on even a percentage basis, like on an average, Tour Pro basis, it's very discouraging, and it makes you, double down on trying to be too perfect, and all of a sudden, head explode.
Right. Well, I'm glad you got a new putter.
Yes.
And so keep us updated. It was fantastic to see you this past week and the whole family, and I'm glad you joined us here on the Hole in One Show podcast, man. It was a pleasure having you, and we'll have you back on with updates in the pro golf world, your pro golf world, and Red Rooster Golf. So best of luck, Brad, and it was great to have you.
Thank you, Dave. I had a great time with you and your girls, and I'm not sure if I'm happy or sad that I preempted Kelsey's appearance on the Hole in One Golf Show podcast. She was pretty excited about appearing. I don't know if she's being sarcastic or not, but I think it's great that she's into golf right now.
It is really cool. And I told her, I said, you're so into golf. You're a new ladies golfer. You are perfect content. You are perfect information to get out there and talk about being brand new to the game and why you're addicted all of a sudden. My wife hasn't stopped golfing in 9 weeks. It's absolutely fantastic. And I've been trying to get her on the pod. She's like, nope. And I was like, all right, I'll have Brad on. She goes, okay, good. Because if you're not going to be on, he's going to come ask me. So I'm going to keep asking. I need your help. Send her messages. We're going to get Kelsey on this podcast.
I'm on it.
All right, buddy. Thanks for being here, man.
You got it. I had a great time.
All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in to the Hole in One Show podcast, Family Affair. This was a ton of fun. A lot of good insight from Brad Fritsch, a long career in professional golf, new endeavor with Red Rooster Golf. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next week.